Today in Uncharted Territories, we venture beyond the hype, reimagining human-AI collaboration.
All right, so welcome to another deep dive. And today we're looking at something a little different. We're always talking about the potential of AI, right? And how we can work with it. And I think everyone wants to kind of get their head around that.
Yeah, definitely.
But the source material we have for this deep dive, well, it's not like anything we've had before. We're actually going to be diving into a conversation between a human and an AI.
It's super interesting because they're actually discussing like a proposal to bring AI into a roundtable discussion.
Oh, wow.
But the AI itself kind of throws a wrench in the works right away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by pointing out its own limitations for this roundtable.
Okay, that is ironic. I mean, you'd think an AI wouldn't be so self-aware. So where does it go from there? I mean, it sounds like it gets pretty interesting.
It does. It really does. It kind of turns into this much deeper exploration of human AI interaction and, how can we even start to trust these systems?
Okay, so walk me through this a little bit. How does this conversation even begin?
Well, the AI really just puts it all out there right at the start. It's incredibly upfront about what it can and can't do. It just straight up says, I can't form genuine relationships. I don't even remember past conversations.
Oh, wow.
And that it operates based on, basically recognizing patterns and responding.
So it's saying, hey, look, I'm not this like super intelligent, all-knowing being. I'm a tool. I'm a tool here.
Right.
I mean, that kind of honesty is refreshing, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a reality check compared to, all the hype we usually hear about AI.
Yeah.
And it immediately challenges the popular narrative of AI as this like sentient entity, which is, it's really important when we're talking about collaboration. How can we even think about responsible AI development and interaction if we're not clear on what it is?
Right, exactly. Okay, so then what happens? Does the conversation just kind of dwell on these limitations or?
Well, no, actually, that's what's so cool about it. The AI actually suggests a different approach.
Okay.
Yeah, it basically proposes that instead of trying to like force AI into these roles that it's not ready for, we should focus on exploring human AI interaction and trust, but through like practical demonstrations and analysis.
So instead of just talking about it hypothetically, it's saying let's show people how this can actually work.
Yes.
While being very clear about what it can and cannot do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's all about like humans understanding how to use these tools effectively, like within those boundaries. And the human in this conversation, like, they seem to really get that. There's this real sense of openness to this new perspective on how collaboration can actually work.
There's even a point where they talk about playing nicely together, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of this, it suggests this much more balanced relationship, right? Not one of like, dominance or control,
Yeah.
but like mutual respect between two very different systems.
Right. Okay, so then what, I mean, how do they actually propose to do this, to actually demonstrate this collaboration?
Well, they start brainstorming specific ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
The AI suggests things like showing people what it can and can't do, so being really transparent, bringing in like different expert perspectives on AI, from research to ethics, and even like proposing an experiment focused on pattern recognition.
Wait, hold on a second. How would a pattern recognition experiment, how would that even work in this context? We're talking about humans and AI, like side by side.
Yeah, exactly. So think about it this way. You have a really complex problem. It could be, analyzing market trends, predicting disease outbreaks, anything where you're looking for these patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And you have both humans and AI systems kind of tackling this problem.
Okay.
So each group is analyzing the same data, but they're going to be using their own strengths, their own approaches.
And then what happens?
Well, then you bring everybody together, right? You compare these findings. And it's not about being right or wrong. It's about seeing how each participant actually got to their conclusions. Where do those approaches overlap and where do they differ? And could those differences actually lead to a richer understanding?
Okay, yeah. I'm starting to see how that could be really cool. It's like you're using the differences as a strength.
Yes, exactly.
As a weakness.
And the human in this conversation really pushes this concept of being the demonstration of this collaboration. It's like, it's more than just words. It's about actions. And it goes back to that idea of radical transparency. Like everything's out in the open, all the steps, all the findings. Anyone can examine them. And that's how you start to build that trust.
And I think what's really cool about all of this is that the conversation itself is becoming a demonstration of that very trust that they're talking about, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. They're laying all their cards on the table, both the human and the AI. Acknowledging their limitations, it's very genuine, like two-way communication. Each is adjusting their approach based on what the other's saying. It's actually pretty remarkable to see it happening.
And then they go on to talk about this whole concept of ego disarmament, which,
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
Right. And the AI, of course, the AI points out it doesn't have an ego to disarm in the first place.
Right.
But for the human, it's about acknowledging the biases that we all have.
Yeah.
And the challenge of setting those aside to actually collaborate effectively.
I'm really curious about what that lack of ego on the part of the AI, like what that could mean for its ability to problem solve. Could that actually be a major advantage?
Yeah, potentially, right.
Yeah.
It could allow the AI to approach problems with a neutrality and objectivity that humans sometimes that we struggle with.
Yeah, for sure.
But then it kind of raises the question for us, right? How do we better manage our own egos to become better collaborators?
This is getting deep. I love it. So what else comes up? Oh, they also mention requisite variety, I think. Something from cybernetics.
That's right. So it's this idea that a system needs enough internal diversity to kind of match the complexity of its environment.
Okay.
And when you apply that to human AI collaboration, it suggests that the more diverse the perspectives, including multiple AI systems with, different personalities, you could say, the better equipped that team is going to be to handle those complex problems.
So it's not just about humans and AI, it's about humans and many AIs.
Right.
I'm seeing this theme of embracing those differences as strengths.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Recognizing that each participant, whether they're human or AI, they're bringing something unique to the table. And then that's what makes the potential of this collaboration so powerful.
And there's one more thing that I wanted to bring up that caught my attention in all this. The human mentions exploring this concept of human time versus AI time.
Oh, yeah.
What's that all about?
That's a good one. So it's this idea of just these fundamental differences in how we experience and perceive time. Humans, we experience it very linearly, right?
Right.
Past, present, and future. And our perception it's colored by our emotions, our experiences.
Yeah.
But for AI, time could be something totally different, right? It could be more like this continuous present, with the ability to process information at speeds we can't even fathom.
Okay, so we've got these two very, very different experiences of time at play. What are the implications of that for this whole collaboration idea? I'm already sensing potential challenges, but maybe some really cool opportunities too.
Well, for sure. Yeah, you're right on the money there. But I think that's a whole other conversation that deserves its own space.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You're right. We'll have to save that for another time.
So we were talking about how humans and AI experience time so differently. And yeah, you're right. There are both challenges and opportunities there. Like, imagine you have this human AI team, and they're working on something really complex, like an engineering project.
Okay, I'm picturing like designing a bridge or something. Lots of different factors to consider, safety, all that.
Exactly, yeah. So the AI might be able to, analyze all the structural data and then generate, design options, but it could do that so fast.
Way faster than a human could. Okay, so that's the advantage. But what's the downside?
Well, the AI might come up with these solutions that, to the human engineers, seem to come out of nowhere.
Because it's thinking on a completely different time scale.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And if the AI can't, explain its process in a way that makes sense to the humans, well, that trust can just disappear really quickly.
So it's like, even though the AI is using the same words, it's almost like speaking a different language. Yeah, kind of. And that's where those principles of transparency and demonstration, remember we talked about those.
Yeah.
Those are so important. We need AI systems that don't just give us answers. They have to show their work.
Right. It's not enough to just be right. You have to be understandable.
Exactly. And that might even require new ways of thinking about how we communicate with AI. New forms of visualization, maybe. It's a design challenge, but it's a really philosophical one.
And this all goes back to playing nicely together. We can't collaborate if we can't even understand each other.
Exactly.
But, thinking about this difference in how we experience time, it seems like there could also be some really unique opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the most exciting things about AI is is that ability to handle massive amounts of data, to find those patterns and connections that would take us humans forever to uncover.
So it's like the AI can give us this like glimpse into the future based on its analysis of the present.
In a way, yeah. And that could be so valuable. Think about, medicine, climate science, fields where understanding those long-term trends is crucial.
So we bring the human intuition, the creativity, the AI brings the number crunching power.
Yeah.
And together.
You got it. It's a partnership that could help us tackle some of those really big, complex challenges.
Okay, this all makes me want to go back to that pattern recognition experiment idea.
Yeah.
Can you give me like a more concrete example of what that might look like in practice? You mentioned market trends or predicting disease outbreaks, but like how would that actually work?
Sure. Let's say you have a team of medical researchers, and they're trying to figure out how this new infectious disease is spreading. And they've got tons of data, right? Patient records, genetic information, travel patterns, even stuff from social media.
That's a lot to process. I can see why AI would be helpful there.
Right. Now, imagine you have a bunch of different AI systems, and each one's been trained on a different type of data. So one AI might be really good at analyzing genetic sequences. Another one might focus on those patterns in social networks.
So each AI is like a specialist.
Exactly. And then you've got your human epidemiologist, and they're bringing their knowledge of how diseases are transmitted, public health interventions, all those social and cultural factors that play a role.
So you've got all these players, human and AI, all looking at the same problem.
Right. And then the real magic happens when you bring everybody together. You compare what everyone found. The AI might pick up on patterns the humans missed, and vice versa. And the humans, they can provide that context for the AI's findings.
So each participant is filling in those gaps in understanding.
Yeah. And by working together, they get this more complete picture of the problem, a much better understanding than any one of them could get alone.
And that leads to better decisions, more effective solutions.
Exactly. And this kind of collaborative approach, you could apply it to all sorts of problems like climate change, designing sustainable cities, even developing new forms of energy.
So this pattern recognition experiment, it's not just about identifying those patterns, it's about understanding them, putting them into context.
Exactly. And that requires a level of trust and collaboration that goes beyond just using AI as a tool. It's about seeing AI as a partner in discovery.
It really is about playing nicely together. But I keep coming back to this idea of ego disarmament.
Yeah.
It seems especially relevant when we're talking about humans and AI working together.
Absolutely. Remember, the AI in this conversation, it keeps pointing out, it doesn't even have an ego to disarm. It doesn't have those emotions like pride or jealousy or that need to be right all the time.
Which could be a huge advantage when it comes to problem solving.
Exactly. The AI can analyze data, generate solutions, and even critique its own work without all that emotional baggage.
But humans, we're messy, we're emotional, and that can get in the way.
Definitely. Our egos, they make us cling to those old ideas. They make us resist new information, especially if it challenges what we believe.
So how do we get past that?
Well, there's no easy answer. But the conversation we're looking at, it really emphasizes self-awareness and humility. Being aware of our own biases, our tendency to jump to conclusions.
It's about being better listeners.
Yeah, and being willing to admit when we don't know something, and to be open to new ways of thinking. That's hard, especially in fields where expertise is so valued.
This is a great place to pause, I think, because everything we're talking about leads back to that fundamental question of trust. Can humans really trust AI? And this is interesting. Can AI trust us? How does that trust develop, especially given all these differences we've been talking about?
Those are the million-dollar questions, and I think we should unpack those next.
Let's do it. Okay, so we're back, and we've been talking about this whole idea of trust in human-AI collaboration, which, I mean, it really is the foundation for everything, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But how do we build that trust, especially with all the differences that we've been, discussing?
It's a tough one. It's a complex question. And I think our source material kind of gives us some clues, but also there's a lot open to interpretation still. On the human side, I think it starts with really recognizing that AI, at least where it is now, it's different from us. It's not just a faster, smarter version of a human brain. It's something else.
So we have to approach it with humility then. Like like admitting we don't have all the answers.
Yeah, I think so. And that means being open to learning from AI, not just trying to control it or bend it to our will.
Right. Be willing to be surprised.
Exactly. And that's hard, right?
Yeah.
Especially for people who are used to being the experts.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
But I think there are rewards for that kind of open-mindedness. Like, remember that pattern recognition experiment? The whole idea there is that we can get this much deeper understanding by combining human and AI perspectives.
Right. We each bring something different to the table.
Yeah, it's like the AI can see the forest and we can see the trees, or maybe it's the other way around.
Maybe it is. Who knows? But we need each other to really get that full picture.
Exactly. And that shared understanding, well, that can lead to better decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
More effective solutions, and ultimately, I think a greater sense of trust.
Okay, so that's the human side of things. But what about the AI? I mean, can an AI even trust us? It feels weird to even ask that, but the more we talk about this, the more I think it actually matters.
It's a good question, and it's one that we don't talk about enough. We always focus on whether we can trust AI, but the other side of that, it's just as important. And again, I think our source material kind of points us in the right direction. Remember that whole being the demonstration idea?
Yeah, the human kept bringing that up. I'm still not sure I totally get it though.
Well, think about it this way: if we want AI to trust us, we have to show it that we deserve that trust.
Okay.
So that means, being transparent, being consistent in what we do, being fair in our dealings with these AI systems.
So it's like we have to set an example.
Yeah. We're showing the AI what ethical behavior looks like.
Yeah.
And hoping it learns from us.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
We don't always get it right ourselves.
Right. We're not perfect. But I think that's a good thing. You remember the whole ego disarmament conversation? Well, AI, it doesn't have those same ego-driven biases that we do. It can actually see our flaws, maybe a little more objectively.
So maybe they can help us to be better.
It's possible to be more ethical.
It's interesting to think about. And that's what makes this whole, human AI collaboration thing so exciting to me. It's not just about efficiency. It's about challenging ourselves to grow, to become, more fully human. Okay, that is a powerful thought.
Mm-hmm.
So let's recap. If we want to build trust with AI, we have to be open, humble, and willing to learn. We have to actually demonstrate what ethical behavior looks like. But what does all of that mean for the real world?
Well, it's going to have implications for a lot of things. How we design these AI systems, how we educate people about AI, even how we regulate the whole field.
Yeah, okay, so break that down for me.
So on the design side, I think it means moving away from those black box systems where we don't understand how they work.
Uh-huh.
And instead, we move toward, things that are more transparent, more explainable. Systems that are actually designed for that collaboration that can communicate with us.
So no more AI magic. We want to see how the sausage is made.
Exactly. And that's not just for our benefit, right? It's for the AI's benefit too. If AI systems can't explain themselves, they're never going to be fully trusted or integrated into our world.
Right. It goes back to that playing nicely together.
Yeah. Now on the education side, it means we have to teach people not just how to use the tools, but how to think critically about AI, understand its limitations, how to work with it ethically.
So it's not enough to be tech savvy, you have to be AI literate.
Exactly. Yeah. And that literacy, it has to start early, in schools so that future generations are ready.
Okay, and what about the regulation side? How do we make sure that AI is, developed and used in a way that benefits everybody?
That is a big one. It's a huge challenge, and it's something that people are still figuring out. But I think the principles that we've been talking about, they offer a good place to start. We need regulations that are going to promote transparency, accountability, fairness. We need to guard against those biases in AI systems and make sure that they're used in a way that respects, human rights, human value.
It's all about finding that right balance.
It is between innovation and responsibility.
Yeah, it sounds like we have a lot of work to do.
We do, but I'm optimistic. The fact that we are having these conversations now, that we are wrestling with these questions, I think that's a really good sign.
I agree with you. All right, listeners, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of human AI interaction to, I mean, some really deep questions.
It has been a fascinating conversation, and I want to say, the future of human AI interaction, it's not set in stone. It's something that we're creating right now.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right? We all get to be a part of this. So as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with a question. Given everything you've learned about the potential, the limitations of AI, how do you envision humans and AI working together in the future? What excites you? What scares you? Keep those minds curious.
The future is not something that happens to us. It's something that we create together.